Chapter 11. Butterflies. I set off exploring after lunch. I remember the direction of Bear Rock and head the other way. "You're coming with me," I say to Polly, leaving Joey wrapped up with Grandma. "At least there are no roads or cars up here. One less thing to be afraid of." The earth smells different and doesn't have the copper tinge of the soil in Australia. I start on the path, stepping over vines, batting leaves out of the way. As I walk deeper into the jungle, the path gets thinner and thinner, and then disappears completely. A bird flitters through the branches above me, and I follow it down the hill until it flies out of sight. I stop and spin around. Everything looks the same. I don't even know which direction I came from. All I can see are tall trees and thick jungle. I try to turn back, but I don't know if I'm going the right way. My heart quickens as I race through the trees. Long hanging branches scratch my forehead. Something rustles. I stop and Polly growls. Slightly below me, a dark rock covered in moss juts out from the ground. My breath catches. Bear Rock. Vines hang and swing around it. I crouch down and touch the top of it. The stone is cold. I'm standing in the places the sunlight doesn't reach. Bears sleep in the daytime. It could be in its cave under the rock. Twigs crack. My heart thuds. "Stop," hisses a voice. I straighten and whip my head around like a scared meerkat, searching for the source of the voice. I spot Praveen, beckoning at me from higher up the slope. "Get away from there," he hisses. "It's not safe." I clamber over the undergrowth towards him. "I was looking for Katani," he says. "I didn't expect to find you here." "I got lost," I whisper. We creep round the side, giving the rock a wide berth until we're back on a trail. "Look," says Praveen, pointing to the ground. There, in the dried mud, is a giant bear print. "Baloo," he says. "Bear." I nod. "How do you know about the bear and all the things up here?" I ask once we're a safe distance away. "Don't you live down in the village?" "I'm a gaddy shepherd," he says proudly. "I bring the goats up here to graze and stay with them every day. Once a year my dad and I go on a months-long trek over the mountains and let them graze along the way." "What about school?" He shrugs. "It's the holidays from May until September. When school starts I'll do it before and after school. Dad's older now, he can't manage to walk like he used to." Polly and Katani bound into the undergrowth together, playing. "Come back," I yell after Polly. She's never usually this badly behaved. She stops and barks before springing off into the jungle. I think about how I was feeling earlier, how this was the loneliest place I'd ever been. I wonder whether Praveen ever feels the same. "Doesn't it get boring being in the mountains the whole time by yourself?" I ask. He smiles. "I'm never by myself. Come, I'll show you." I follow Praveen as he winds in and out of the tall evergreen trees. Our footsteps thud against the ground. We trample on a bed of red petals from the rhododendron trees. They have dark gnarly wood that twists and turns and big matte leaves. Tiny hummingbirds and bees fly into the red tubular flowers, bunched together in a circle. Praveen spots something on the ground. He bends and picks up a long black and white quill. "The porcupine's been here," he says, handing it to me. "For you." I smile. "Thanks." I wrap my long hair around the quill and fasten it into a bun. We pass a miniature white temple the size of a cardboard box. Praveen reaches in the open front and rings a bell. The clanging echoes across the valley. "What is it?" I ask. My dad says the bell wards off evil, but Mum says it tells the gods that we're here and empties our thoughts in preparation for prayer. He dips his finger in a small bowl of red powder and draws a line on my forehead with it. His finger is warm. He draws one on himself too. "That's Shiva's trident," he says, seeing me eye the trident stacked in the corner of the temple. "The god of destruction and restoration." Praveen ducks under a vine and stops in front of a tree. The light casts dappled shadows and shimmering patterns on the floor. "You have to promise not to tell anyone about this place," he says. "I promise," I say. My lips are sealed. A clearing and a wooden building come into view. It's a large cabin with darkened windows and a thick padlock on the door. "That's the boss's," says Praveen, tilting his head towards the wooden building. He pats the trunk of a rhododendron tree next to it. "This is what I wanted to show you." The bark is knobbly and swirls into a pattern of browns. Red petals from the last of the funnel-shaped flowers cover the ground beneath the wide spread of branches and give off a faint sour smell. "Can you climb?" continues Praveen, his gaze challenging. I nod. He jumps and catches the branches before pulling himself up. "Here," he says, offering a hand. "I've got it," I say, finding a dent to fit my toes in and stepping up onto the branch. We climb and sit side by side. From here we can see out over everything, down into the valley and all the way to the snowy mountains in the distance. Rolling hills stretch below us. I notice specks of white being carried on the wind. They get closer. Wings. A kaleidoscope of butterflies flies up over our heads and off into the sky. I've never seen so many. I told you I was never alone. It's their migration, says Praveen, smiling at me. It happens every year. It's just started. As the butterflies surround me, I feel a little flutter of joy in my stomach, something I haven't felt in a long time since before Mum died. I'd almost forgotten that this feeling existed.